Hey guys, Legendary Narwhal here, and as you can obviously see, this is not League of Legends. You will have known that by the title of this video anyway. But I do play World of Warcraft. I am in the Mists of Pandaria beta, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit, ramble on about something that I think is going to be incredibly amazing. I'm very, very excited for it, if Blizzard keeps it, and that's Warlocks. At the moment, if you're a demonology warlock, you can get a glyph called demon hunting. Okay, it's called Dark Apotheosis. It used to be called Threatening Presence. They've changed the name. It does the same thing. So instantly what you see is that it reduces damage that you take, use of various demonic abilities, basically metamorphosis moves, and then in addition, Soul Shatter will now taunt your target, Twilight Ward will now absorb all schools of damage, and then Demonic Slash, which is the Shadow Bolt variant for metamorphosis, is shorter range and generates Demonic Fury. Okay, so that's the glyph. Before we really get into the actual tanking argument, we have to touch on the new resource. Warlocks now have something called Demonic Fury, and this will be Demonology Warlock specific. Destruction has something called Burning Embers, and those are generated by doing Incinerate on immolated targets like this says here. You stack up a bunch of Burning Embers, I believe it goes up to 10, and then certain abilities will consume those embers. Does Soulfire do it now? Not 100% sure, but yeah, I'm not talking about destruction. I haven't really looked at it. I'm talking about demonology. So your base demonic fury is 200. If you are below 200, you will regen up to it. If you're higher, you will go down to it. You will degenerate down to it. You can kind of see on the bar here, right there, you can kind of see these two little kind of triangle shapes here that kind of shows you the barrier. So it's right here, it's at 200. Now when you enter metamorphosis, simply being in the form drains your fury. As you can see, 0 + 6 per second. So you will have the same abilities in both metamorphosis and here Dark Apotheosis, but something you notice instantly, I'll come out of the form for you guys. Now there's a bug that might happen with Shadow Bolt. If it does, then I'll explain it. Hopefully it won't. As you can see here, 100 Demonic Fury. It says nothing at all about Fury per second. Meaning, boom, I click on it. Okay, the bug did happen. I'll explain that in a moment. And now I can stay in this form all the time. As you can see, my Fury is actually regenning up to 200. So this is a form I can stay in just all the time. I can run around, I can loot stuff, I can pick flowers or mine nodes and stuff like that. I can fight in this form all the time, just walk around like this. Now, right now I'm taking reduced damage, and the biggest indicator for tanking is you see threat increase by 500%. There's absolutely no reason to have that unless you're going to be able to tank. Next couple things. This used to be Soul Shatter. It is now called Provocation. 10 Demonic Fury, so very, very cheap. 30-yard range, 8-second cooldown, forces target to attack you, blah, blah, blah. Now, that is basically word for word what every other tank's taunt in this entire game consists of. Maybe a little bit of some resource, and then it's an 8-second cooldown, and it makes them attack you. So we have a taunt. Right next to it here, we have, it's called Fury Ward. You saw in the description for the glyph, this used to be Twilight Ward. It is renamed. This consumes 200 Demonic Fury, so it will use some up. It is a 10-second cooldown. However, you can bubble yourself for 25.5k, which isn't too shabby. I mean, that is pretty significant. When I fight mobs in this form, just normally, like these hosen around here, the monkeys, like, they hit me for maybe 2k or so. It's not a lot. So a lot of your abilities change. Now right here, this was a very recent change. You used to be able to use this move, and it used to be called, I believe it used to be called Shadow Flame. That was the name of the move. You used to be able to use it in and out of Metamorphosis. If you were in normal form, it would consume mana. If you were in Metamorphosis or right here, Dark Apotheosis, it would consume Demonic Fury instead. It has now been changed. You cannot use this. It has no Metamorphosis equivalent at all. Not just Dark Apotheosis, Metamorphosis. This has no equivalent in either one. Little unfortunate, but it's okay. So now this is used as an AoE Demonic Fury generator, basically. You're going to have this in your normal form, and you can see it will do damage, and it will afflict people with Shadow Flame. Shadow Flame is now the debuff. The name of the move is now Breath of Gul'dan. It will reduce the movement speed, deal damage over time, kind of like the old Shadow Flame did, but now it will generate 10 Demonic Fury every time it deals damage. So, you spray this into a crowd of enemies, you're going to get a lot of fury out of this. Very good move to generate. Now you see this number here, number 2. You've also seen the number 2 down here on Hand of Gul'dan, and when this was Demonic Scythe, you saw number 3. What those numbers are is charges. That's something new that Blizzard is doing with a couple classes in Mists of Pandaria. I haven't looked at very many. I do know that the monk now has charges on its roll. It used to just consume energy, but now it has 2 charges and costs no energy. So this whole charge system, it prevents you from spamming things. It prevents you from spamming this ability. So you can use this to generate fury, sure, and you can choose whether to do them back to back or whether you want to space them out a little bit to have more consistent sustained damage dealt. So that's kind of cool. I am disappointed you cannot no longer use this in Metamorphosis. Cannot no longer use this. Anyway, alright, biggest thing, this is a bug. I will say it right now. Everything in this beta, I didn't say it at the beginning of this, I'll make sure to add it into the description though. This is beta. I'll say it again, this is beta. Everything here is completely and totally subject to change, and 99% of the stuff in here probably will. So, again, just take everything here with a lot of grains of salt because it will probably not remain the same. This, however, is not intentional at all. I'm not going to be doing any spells in this little rambling here. I'm just going to be talking about it. Mostly because yesterday, in between recording games of League of Legends, I attempted to play my Warlock on the beta about 7 or 8 times. Every single time, I ended up getting booted from a 132 error for something. For one time, it was for simply casting Corruption on a turtle. That instantly booted me. Next time I cast it, it was fine. And I was like, hey, where'd Demonic Scythe go? I have Shadow Bolt. I was spamming Shadow Bolt in this form. It doesn't cost anything. As you can see, it costs no resource. It generates fury. It has a range. That's really cool. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. But it's supposed to be Demonic Scythe. Now, I was casting it over and over, and it was fine. I went to another mob, cast it once, instantly got kicked. So, basically what I'm saying is, right now, Warlocks, especially Demonology, are incredibly buggy. So I will not be using any of these right now. As you saw, this changed. If at the beginning of this video it said Demonic Scythe, that is what it should be. Demonic Scythe is correct, not Shadow Bolt. This is wrong. I don't know why it does that. Reloading my UI will not fix it. Going out of the form, it should be now because I'm in normal form, but then going back in, it will not change back. So it will not change back right now. If I were to log off the server and log back on, this would read Demonic Scythe. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to pause the recording. So basically tanking in this form, it is probably going to be a thing. We have a taunt. We have a little mitigation thing we can do on ourselves. We have an even larger one called Dark Bargain, which is actually a talent. Prevents all damage for 10 seconds and then blah blah blah. Does not say we cannot attack during that time. So this is probably going to be another huge form of damage mitigation. I mean, 50% of it will never even happen to you. The other 50% will happen over 20 seconds as it states, but the first won't. Right here, Dark Soul. When you're not in this form, or when you're in Metamorphosis and not Dark Apotheosis, this will increase your damage, because it increases your mastery by quite a bit. Right now, your mastery is defense. That is what your mastery has turned into. Right now, yes, you do see minus 0.00, it's beta. Okay, basically what this does, Dark Apotheosis, how they get the numbers is they take your damage done mastery from this. I don't even know where on earth the mastery is now. It's not there. We'll just look for it for a moment. They moved passive stuff to the back, so... Yeah, so just again, you can see here, when using Metamorphosis, aka Dark Apotheosis, your Shadow Ball spell transforms into Demonic Slash. Well, it's blatantly not doing that. So, that is a bug. Just don't worry about it too much. Demonic Fury passive. Okay, increase your damage dealt by blah blah blah. And then... can't really find it. I'm not sure why there's open space there. Also, it's probably pretty loud. You can probably hear that phone ring in the background. Ignore that. So yeah, being in this form for tanking, you need to have a sustainable resource. If you're a warrior, you need rage to tank. Paladin, you need mana to tank. Death Knights, lol, you don't need anything to tank. Anyway, sorry, Blood DK is overpowered. But for this form, you need Demonic Fury. You use Hand of Gul'dan, has 2 charges. Demonic Scythe will have 3 charges. You use those moves to generate your Fury. If you're in Metamorphosis, everything will cause your Fury to drain. Every move will cause your Fury to drain in Metamorphosis. However, inside Dark Apotheosis, these 2 moves with charges will generate Fury. Meaning that I can use my 3 Demonic Scythes and my 2 Hand of Gul'dans to get a bunch of Fury. Then I can spend it on, say, Immolation Aura, or a bunch of Ray of Twilights, or I could do Soulfire, anything like that. Then when the charge comes up, I can hit it again. I can gain more Fury, meaning that I can stay in this form perpetually just till the end of time if I manage things correctly. Now, first thing a lot of people are going to assume is instantly, oh my god, that's so OP. Not really. Not really. The damage that you deal is much lower than the damage that another class would deal. Yeah, I can do Demonic Scythe for about 20k, maybe a little bit more. And Arcane Mage is going to crit you with Arcane Blast for about 80. Okay, so the damage is not comparable at all. Arcane Mage may not be the best comparison because they are very high burst, but point stands, you are not going to be doing the damage of a damage class. Your mastery is flipped around. You don't get any bonus damage. You get bonus damage not taken to you, but you don't deal any bonus damage. So for PvP, as far as this goes, keep in mind that you're going to have a base Fury of 200. With a base Fury of 200, I can't do jack shit. I can do 2 Soulfires, I do a bunch of Ray of Twilights, which don't do any damage anyway. I can't do Immolation Aura because that costs almost half of the entire bar. And other than that, there is no ability that I can use. There's not, unless you want to sit there and drain life somebody, but who's going to do that? So, point is, if you're in PvP, yeah, okay, you have your charges, that's great. You can use them to build up some more Fury for yourself. But if you burst out all 5 of your charges, literally the only thing you'll be able to do is sit there with Corruption on them, spam Ray of Twilight, which does no damage. I can actually use this spell because this hasn't crashed me before. That's Ray of Twilight. It's Ray of Twilight. It's Ray of Twilight. So it's pretty cool. It's the variant of Fell Flames. And I can use Soulfire. I can sit there with Corruption on, I can spam Ray of Twilight, I can try to cast Soulfire, which will take quite a while, and if, as you can see there, it says if used on a healthy target, meaning if I hit something that is not 25% or lower about to die, then my cast time is going to double. So basically you can use this once on a healthy target, and then just completely forget about it for the next half a minute. You're not going to have time to do it again. Or Immolation Aura. Yeah, I can do Immolation Aura. Doesn't really do all that much damage every second. It does about 2.5k, maybe 3k, depending on spell power, things like that. But it costs half of your entire Fury bar. your only damage dealing moves really are going to be Hand of Gul'dan and Demonic Scythe. And those have charges. You're not going to be able to walk up to someone in PvP and just spam them, because you can only do it 3 times. After you do Demonic Scythe 3 times, you have to sit on your hands and wait, because you can't do it again. After you do Hand of Gul'dan 2 times, it's a 15-second recharge timer on the charges for Hand of Gul'dan. Demonic Scythe is only about 4 or 5, so it is not that long. But point being, yeah, it generates your Fury. Yeah, its cooldown's not that long. Yeah, it does okay damage, about 20k, but the charges are going to limit you. The charges are going to limit you a lot. So basically, Blizzard has claimed in a blue post, I believe, on MMO Champion, they have said something along the lines of, "It is not our intention for Warlocks to be able to tank, etc., etc. You will not be able to queue for dungeons as tank, LFR as tank." Well, you know what? That's very true. I am not allowed. It says my class may not perform this role. However, unless you're going to completely change this glyph to not give us Dark Apotheosis at all, unless you're not going to make it give us bonus threat, unless you're not going to make it flip the mastery, unless you're not going to let us have a taunt full time, unless you're not going to allow us to build up Demonic Fury instead of always draining it, if they don't change all of those things, we will be able to tank in Mists of Pandaria. Right now, all signs point to being allowed to do it. They have said you can't, and they are right, you cannot queue for it as of this time. However, everything in the game right now that they have points to it. Hopefully they maintain it. As I said, I do not believe this is going to be overpowered in PvP. I don't believe it's going to be overbalanced, specifically for the charge reason. You're simply not going to do enough damage, you're going to be standing around, people are going to be beating on you, and in PvP you rarely end up going 1v1 anyway. Arena, maybe. I haven't done a whole lot of Arena myself, so I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth and comment on whether or not this will be viable in arenas. I believe not, but that's just me. It may be that this is very overpowered in arenas, but until I see some proof of that, I'm going to maintain my stance of this is not overpowered in PvP, so we should be allowed to keep it. Most of the time, that's where a lot of good things go wrong, is they want to give us something for PvE, but people start using it in PvP, and it gets very unbalanced. I believe a trinket, Vial of the Shadows from Dragon Soul, that got nerfed, basically because of PvP. It wasn't a massive nerf because they just kind of changed it to it procs more often for smaller amounts. It's basically a trinket, Vial of Shadows, that did damage on a proc. People got it and they used it in PvP, and the damage it dealt on procs was so high that people were getting massive numbers out of it and just instantly killing people. So Blizzard had to go and change the item because people were using it in PvP, even though it was a PvE raid environment drop. People are always going to do that. You can't just look at someone and say, "Oh, you're not allowed to do that, that's for PvE only." You can't do that. So I'm not going to drag this on any longer, but closing remarks for now. We will probably be able to tank. I've kind of explained all the reasons why. I'll go over more demonology changes in detail other than just tanking later on. I will also touch on arcane mages. I might record another video for arcane mages today. I tried to do a dungeon as my arcane mage last night. I got a 132 error halfway through, but before that it was going very well. And I'm pretty impressed with what they've done with them so far. So, we'll talk about that when we get to it. For now, it's Fel Legendary Narwhal, signing off. I will see you guys next time.